We needed to be able to create fire. We needed to be able to do it contained, but we also needed the topography. The tragedy of the reality is that Ruidoso burned 3 weeks after we wrapped. It's, you know, life imitating art, imitating life, imitating art.
When I first got the call to go pick up the kids, I started to think that maybe I could earn a second chance. But it's too late. Second chances.
Well, Jamie, I know this started with you. That you read the book, I believe.
No, I was in Idaho on vacation, and there was a review of the book in the Washington Post, and they had a sort of sidebar story of Kevin McKay and Mary Ludwig. And I said out loud to my husband, well, that's the movie, but I didn't do anything. And the next day I was driving in Idaho to visit my sister, and I listened to NPR and Weekend Edition. He said, hi, it's Scott Simon, Weekend Edition. My first guest is Lizzie Johnson, the author of Paradise, the Story of an American Wildfire, the story of Kevin McKay and Mary Ludwig. And I pulled my car over and I emailed my producing partner, Jason Blum, and said, I want to buy the book. I want to tell the story, and I think it'll be the most important thing either one of us do in the movie business.
It's so cool. And Jason, what was your reaction to this particular project, this story, when Jamie came to you?
Well, when you make a first look deal, the first thing you submit, if I have a deal with someone else, or you receive, if I make a deal with someone, you kind of do. So I knew. So Jamie said, I have our first thing. And I looked at it and I thought it was an incredible story, but I thought to myself, this is going to be really, really hard to make as a movie. It's very expensive, especially, we do inexpensive movies. But I was daunted by it, but I had the power and energy of Jamie Lee Curtis encouraging me along the way. But the first person we went to was Brad Englesby, who did a terrific job on the script, and he wrote the script essentially for spec. He loved the story, and that got us the ticket that eventually got us Paul on the movie.
Now, Mark, you're doing the costumes here. This is a contemporary kind of setting here. So what goes into the costume design job on Lost Bus?
You're working with Paul Greengrass, who comes from documentary filmmaking originally, and he wants reality. He wants it to feel as real as possible. So it's a lot of research trying to bring him what it really looked like, and then how we make steps to make it visual, to tell a story with the clothes. I just had to worry about creating that world of the people of Paradise and how we look at the two main characters and the children for so long, and how to make that interesting to look at again and again through the different stages.
One thing that's important that people know, and I don't think that they do, many people do, the gentleman who played the first lieutenant of the fire team was in fact the real head of the campfire, the actual fire. He was the head of the whole thing, and he's an actor in the movie. All those are real firefighters. So what you got to do, Mark, was both work with actors, but also it must have been bizarre and kind of beautiful to have that relationship with real firefighters. Maybe you've had that before on movies.
No, it really was, because we could constantly check ourselves to make sure that we were doing service to their story and to make sure that we were accurate along the way. And we would check in daily with each of the scenes to make sure the nuance was there.
Peter, talk about the editing here. I mean, oh my God, this movie just like keeps you on the edge of your seat, and all those shots, off the cliff, back in the bus, everything there to keep this thing going like it does. It's like Speed in that way.
Yeah, I think that the story kind of guides you, especially on this film with the editing. It's such an intense story. It's so fast-paced. You really want to try to do justice to the real-life people that lived it. So you're trying to find a way to tell the geography of where these people are trapped in the fire, but also make sure that while that geography and where the fire is spreading and how quickly it's overtaking this town, while you're telling that, you're also checking in with your characters and making sure that you're landing those emotional beats, not only with Matthew and America, who give fantastic performances, but also checking in with the kids and making sure that you recognize their faces, give them moments within those dramatic moments to really drive home the terror of how everybody was feeling in that moment.
You don't have something compelling to watch if you don't have the human content here. And I thought that their stories, they were so good, and they kept us, kept the human story.
And that's Levi McConaughey, Matthew's son, playing his son.
He looks like him, I could tell.
And that's his mother. We have also the real life dispatcher, the woman who was the woman watching the screens and calling to the fire department to go. She is the actual dispatcher who was at the campfire. So again, it's a mix of both actors, you have a lot of first responders. It's that beautiful mix that's a Paul Greengrass recipe for truth, really.
The style of how he shoots his movies is so frenetic and fast-paced, and working with him behind the scenes is the same thing. You really have to be on your toes, and he collaborates with everybody and wants everybody's ideas, and it's just thrilling.
And Lisa, okay, sound. It is the most misunderstood art, I think, of anything. Talk about this one, though. You're in the middle of fire constantly here.
Yeah, this was
Wind.
This was it was a tip. A lot of wind, tons of dirt, tons of fire, propane, explosions, everything, and we were able to get. I had a good team, and we were able to get good dialogue to use in post. I think what happens and what gets to screen in this movie is the amazing stuff that was created in post. The sounds of the embers, which were designed, that hit when you see the fire truck getting up to the first fire and you hear those embers hit the screen. That pulled me right in to the film, and you realize how strong and how big those things are. All kinds of really interesting things with John Fassel, who's a very talented recordist, doing amazing stuff with the sounds of all the vehicles. Between sound, editorial, and post-production sound work really closely together.
Why did you shoot in Santa Fe? I noticed at the very end here you thank the city of Paradise, town of Paradise as well.
Well, you have to find a town that can double, and Ruidoso, New Mexico, was that town. They did a bunch of obviously, Greg Goodman did a bunch of recce's to try to find the right place. We needed a back lot. We needed to be able to create fire. We needed to be able to do it contained, but we also needed the topography. We needed, it's a mountain town with that wonderful main street. The tragedy of the reality, right? Real reality is that Ruidoso burned 3 weeks after we wrapped. There were these terrible wildfires in New Mexico, and the town of Ruidoso was on fire, just like the town of Paradise had been, the very town that we used as a double. So it's life imitating art, imitating life, imitating art.
Congratulations, all of you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.